This video contains subject matter that may be offensive and disturbing to some people. If you are the type to require a warning throughout a video or show, let this message serve as your warning. This channel discusses the harsh reality of true crime. If this warning is not sufficient for you, consider a different genre and unsubscribe from my channel immediately. Hello, freaks. I'm just going to get right to what I'm doing here. It's like a focused timeline, kind of, I think it's easier to understand if you just kind of put the times in there. But it's still hard to determine, the sequencing based on that. It's, the timing doesn't really, it makes you think about different things, but we don't really know. And by the way, if you'd like to help support the channel, become a channel member or support with super chats, PayPal, and so forth. And tonight we're going to have on, I believe, Colleen and Misty come on and maybe talk about what their thoughts are. They're smart people. The DNA wasn't part of it, but they were going to come on anyways, so. It was forensic genetic genealogy wasn't. DNA obviously played a role, right? Obviously. Okay, and they've been on my show many, many times. You guys can go back and watch. Anybody new here, some really interesting shows on genetic genealogy. Probably get updates, see where we're at on some of our cases. All right, so let's get started on it. Welcome, Eliza Jane. All right, here we go. So here's just the general layout here. One of the things that's confusing to me is how they have it on the map what streets are called. So if you look at Google Earth right here, Queen Road, this is the house right here, 1122 King Road. But Queen Road goes all the way around like this. So maybe at one time there was a driveway that went way over there. I don't know. This address here, though, is 1112 King Road. That's the one where that surveillance camera is. But again, it looks like it's on Queen Road here, but the driveway kind of goes out this way. And then right there, King Road sort of goes into here. It's just convoluted, just like the house. It's just crazy. But their wording, I think they should be using Queen Road because they say it when the car drove this way, it did a 3-point turn at Queen and King. But if this is referred to all the other times as going eastbound on King Road, you get confused as to when it ever was on Queen. So in the document, it should say Queen Road eastbound and Queen Road westbound all the time, because King Road really virtually just goes straight up and down. There isn't any east or west on it, okay? So I'm just letting you know that part now. All right, so now let's go over the timeline. I have this written part. Well, first let's just go over this part down here. It says, at 4 a.m., Dylan hears playing with dog. Okay, now let's play on, I have a video here. Let me open this up. It might take a second. I had it sitting right here. I'm going to open it up with VLC player, so that way I can have the audio music playing. It's my Linus blanket, like I said. So hopefully it plays on here. Doesn't look like that worked, so we'll have to open it up and take over the audio again. So I made a little video. Forgive the crudeness of the animation right here, okay? This is when the Jordache got there. Right around 4, so it probably drove like this, pulled right in, And, you know, obviously then the person has to go to the door. I don't know if they pay when they get there or they probably pay in advance and they're just really dropping it off. So, you know, let's just say he pulls out of there at 4:02, right? So he backs out and then he drives this way. Now, keep in mind at this time, the white Elantra, aka Brian Koberger, was driving around the neighborhood since 3:29 all the way up until 4:20 is when he's seen leaving. All right, so he's driving around. He probably knows that there was a DoorDash, or a DoorDash. I keep saying Jordash. A DoorDash driver that drove by there, right? So you probably know that he was aware of that and he needed to wait for that person. So just keep in mind. So at 4 a.m., Dylan here is playing with the dog. Well, doesn't it make more sense that the 4 a.m. wasn't, and it wasn't Dylan, excuse me. She thought it, I have a typo there. It should say, she thought that Kaylee was playing with the dog upstairs. Well, one of the problems with that is that if you look at the house right here, this is the front door. The surviving roommate is right there. And so just above her room is Madison's room. So how would she be able to hear or you know, think it was Kaylee playing with their dog? What about this? What if that was actually Xana, because that's exactly the same time that the DoorDash driver got there. I know DoorDash is like a product out there. Hey, thank you very much, Tupac Shakur and Helena Bucket Babe. But what if it was Xana and maybe had her keys out or something, had that little jingle sound that made it sound like, because that's about the only way you could tell somebody's playing with the dog is by listening to jingling sound, or if you're like, hey, come here, come here, come here, something like that. So is it possible that at 4 in the morning that Dylan heard Xana? So if we look at the camera here, let's take a look at there's one interesting element that somebody sent me, and I saw it a long time ago, but I didn't really think of it again. In the kitchen down here, let me go back all the way down to the kitchen element. So right here in the kitchen, the sink is really right there. And looks like there's a DoorDash. God, I can't stop saying that. I'm going to keep saying it forever. A DoorDash bag. Does that look like that's what that is right there? Xana's? And it's on right behind the kitchen sink right there. So was that her bag and she'd already taken the food out of it and then taken it back to her room? What do you guys think? I mean, did she go to the kitchen? And so that's what's interesting too. Did she go to the kitchen with the order? Maybe it's like 4:03, 4:04. And this is around the time that the white Elantra shows up. So let's just remember that the DoorDash was purchased, or it arrived at the house at 4 o'clock in the morning. All right, that's the time that the DoorDash driver was there. Apparently they know what time he was there and he left. There's receipts and everything. And it's possible, though, the driver came in like this and went like that and exited that way, but I don't know. There's a camera here and there's a camera there. You guys remember this camera from a few weeks back? And this camera, they play a role here in a minute. So let's get back to... So at 4 a.m., Kernodle receives the DoorDash, and that's when exactly the same time that Dylan thought she heard a dog. Thank you, Cindy Leon. Then at 4:05, the suspect vehicle parks. So now let's go to that video. And so what this car does, let me move it forward when it pulls in. So here comes the white Elantra into the scene here. Those numbers aren't good on the screen, so don't bother calling those. Yeah, and sorry for the crude animation again, but this is what I think. You know how they said it turned around at... Oh, God, what happened? Oh, shit. Can you guys still hear me? I'm not sure what that was right there. That was weird. Okay, I think I'm still here, right? Uh-oh. I think I might be... So you can hear me right now. If it's not, I might have to come back on or something in a second. Hold on a second. Something weird just happened here. Got some weird... Oh, there it is. I think things are slowly popping back on the screen. There we go. Okay. That was weird. It was in that video where it froze on me there. Interesting. Not sure what that was. All right. Thank you, Foggy Morn. So here comes that was the first vehicle. Now let's go back. Right around 4 o'clock, the white Elantra comes in. And it parks. It does a turn over here, because if you remember on the probable cause document, it says that it turned around at 500 Queen Road, number 52. I was trying to figure out where number 52 is. I even called the apartment. They won't tell you. But I think it's right here. And you know why? Because remember how there was a surveillance camera right on this building right here? And it films right like that. I mean, it's amazing how it points right over here. So that means when this Elantra came in here, it turned around, came out, and right here it paused for a minute, and it was trying to turn, and it couldn't do it. I think he was trying to turn up this road, but it's a really tight, sharp turn. So then ends up driving over here and does a 3-point turn, comes back around, and then drives up and parks up there, okay? So watch it. It's really poor animation here. I just kind of quickly put it together, but just picture it right over in this area, turning around, and it's caught on this surveillance camera right here. It was caught coming in on this camera at 4 o'clock, and I didn't have it paused, but right in this area, it struggled to park, and then it drives to Queen and King Road, does a 3-point turn, and that's caught on that camera, and then probably drives up here and parks the vehicle right up here, okay? So that's where it parks the vehicle, and let's just say it was 4:05, I'm going to guess. You know, given the fact that it was here at 4:04, struggling, and then went here and up here, probably parked at 4:05, that time frame. Does that make sense? And then I'm saying, right after that, Dylan hears Xana say, "Someone is here." But isn't that interesting? When she said someone is here, did she actually see that person too? Maybe when she was in the kitchen and saw somebody walking around. I don't know. But Dylan thought the person who said someone is here was Kaylee upstairs, but law enforcement believes it's Xana because she was still awake at 4:12 on TikTok, or alive on TikTok at 4:12. Yeah, the house is right here. See that? So on my 3D model, if you go up in the air, this is the front of the house. So what you're looking at is like this on Google Earth. See, you can even see how it has the same, like this, and so in my model it's like that, and in the back of the house is the deck. Kaylee's room's right there. Madison room is right there. That's where they were murdered. All right, so this is the front of the house, though. So let's just start over again. So at 4 a.m., Dylan here is playing with the dog. That's the same time the DoorDash driver got there. 4 a.m., Kernodle received, got her DoorDash. So, again, it's like DoorDash, playing with the dog. I think those instances are the same sound that people heard. Hey, thank you, Mag, and Muscle March Fitness. Then at 4:05, the suspect vehicle parks. I'm just saying, I'm guessing here, at 4:06, Dylan hears Xana say, "Someone is here." Dylan looks out of the room herself and sees nobody. And then at 4:12, Xana is on TikTok. So at 4:12, Xana is doing fine. She's on TikTok looking at things. And then at 4:15, Dylan, I'm guessing here at this time, Dylan hears crying from Xana because we know it has to be after 4:12 because she's on TikTok. I guess it's possible the TikTok app was still open and something was happening. We don't know that information. Dylan hears crying from Xana's room, likely, and I said likely after attack, and opens door to look. Like she opens her door again and looks out. Okay, so inside the house, it would be, let's go to that. I'll back it up just a little bit because it's in this room. Right here, she just opens up that door a little bit and looks out. And Xana's room is just around that corner right there. See how you can go out into the living room and just take a quick left? It's right over there. And to go back in time, this is that room she was looking out of is right there to the left. And that's the stair rail there, and this is Xana's room. So now I have them, she's on the ground over by on the floor next to the bed there, you can't see her. And then right there, there's the door that you just saw through. That's Dylan's room. And these are the steps that go upstairs. Right when you get to the top of the stairs, you take a left into Kaylee's room, or a right goes over to Madison's room, and you'll see that right after you come out of her room. This is Madison's room, and this is where both of them were found dead. And right next to Madison was a knife sheath. Okay, so I'll get back to this. It's hard to, I'm trying to do this in a way where it's understandable, but at 4 a.m. again, Dylan hears playing with the dog. That's the same time the DoorDash driver delivers something to Xana. 4:05, the suspect vehicle parks. 4:06, Dylan here, I'm guessing here, says, someone is here. Dylan looks out of her room and sees nobody. Then a short time later, Xana's on TikTok at 4:12. And then a short time later, Dylan hears crying from Xana's room, likely after an attack, and opens the door to look. And so that was a time when, she opened the door a second time. She heard what she thought was crying coming from Kernodle's room. She heard a voice say, "It's okay, I'm going to help you." Does anybody think that was Ethan saying that? Because I don't. It's okay, I'm going to help you. I don't think that two people being under attack by a knife, that one of them would say that phrase. But the killer, a psycho killer, would be probably a calm voice, might say something like that. I'm going to help you. Ethan and Xana are likely to have already been attacked. So then, that was at 4:15. Then at 4:17, whimper and loud thud, likely Xana or Ethan being attacked, as the bathroom wall and location of Madison's room would exclude it from being heard on the 1112 security camera. And I just realized, finally, this is the third time I've gone over this document, why they mentioned, remember they said that there was a bathroom on so let's see, this is north-south. So it would have been on the north wall of Madison's room. You remember that part? And it's like, why put that detail in there? Well, I know why. Because this is the bathroom right here. And there's a wall between Madison's room, the bathroom, and then there's the window. So there wouldn't be any way that the security camera at this property right here would pick up audio from Madison's room over here with a bathroom as a buffer, right? Two different walls, her wall, which is the same as the bathroom wall, then the wall of the house, and then all the way over there. So it probably wouldn't have picked up that audio at all. Do you guys understand what I'm saying there? This room right here is Kaylee's room with a window right there, and it's only 57 feet away from the this property right here with the camera that picked up that audio. I just want to make sure you guys are understanding what I'm saying there. You guys are talking about all kinds of other stuff that's not related to what I'm saying. So do you understand this? Okay, good. All right. It's right here. And again, Xana's room is on this floor right here. It's on the second floor, but on this wall just below that. And again, on this model, it's right here. This is the first floor. That's the room. It's 57 feet away from 1122. or 1112 King Road. All right, so then at 418 Dylan, after hearing the crying and likely after the thud, opened her door and stood in frozen shock as the figure clad in black clothing and a mask that covered the person's mouth and nose walked towards her. So that means the person walked towards her from the living room, but it's not like it's right. She's right in front of his face. She's off to the side, a little bit to the left. So that's one of the things people keep saying. How did he not see her? He's right in front. I mean, just think about it for a minute. You know, so we could actually imitate it right here, because after he goes upstairs and goes into this room, then he takes a right. Now, this is exactly what Dylan would have seen. Her door is cracked open. This door right here, it's dark in the hallway there. She's not saying anything and frozen. This guy's kind of committed to leaving, isn't really noticing, and he takes a right here and exits out the kitchen through the sliding glass door. Does that make sense? Yeah, and he was described as 5'10", taller male, not very muscular, but athletically built and bushy eyebrows. The killer exited out the sliding glass door in the kitchen. So the bushy eyebrows, had you been paying attention to this channel, I sort of randomly mentioned it about a week and a half ago in a poll, because I already knew the information, and then brought it out. As soon as the arrest was made, I put it out there before the affidavit, so you would have had that information first. The news is like, whoa, man, whoa, where you guys already had it. I didn't know if it was 100% accurate, though, but it turns out it was. I even said, you know, take it with a grain of salt, err on the side of not believing it, but this, I tend to believe it because it was very reasonably written and it seemed legitimate. It wasn't some weird, wild speculation. Okay. And then at 4:20, the suspect vehicle departed the area. So just moments after, 4:17. So again, remember at 4:17 there was whimper and a loud thud, likely Xana or Ethan being attacked, as the bathroom wall and location of Madison's room would exclude it from being heard on the 1112 security camera. So I'm just saying at 4:18-ish, that might be when Dylan, after hearing the crying and likely that thud, the same thud, opened her door and stood in frozen shock. So that guy probably killed somebody, threw him on the ground or whatever he did, or they fell to the ground, and that's when he leaves. And we don't know exactly the timing of the crying and the whimpering and the thud. Were those all at like 4:16? And that would mean that Kaylee and Madison were likely killed first. Because what we do know is that the killer, after killing or finishing off Xana and Ethan, left the house after exiting the living room. He did not walk down these stairs because she couldn't see him that way. Her head would be sticking out in the hall. So just kind of picture these doors open inward like this. This door opens inward just like this. So she could be looking out a crack and see this person. But down these stairs, you wouldn't be able to because she would be back there. So the person had to be coming from the living room and then took a hard right and then exited the house. Does that make sense? I want to make sure that everybody's understanding, so that this kind of stuff is important to have it dialed in. You get these trolls that put comments on your videos. Oh, your timeline, your time. I said all these same things, but I'm just putting it in a shorter format. So up here, I had written both surviving roommates, Dylan Mortensen and Ethan Funk, indicated all occupants were home by 2 a.m. and either asleep or in their rooms by 4 a.m. Kernodle was the lone exception. She received a door of the roommates. She received a DoorDash at approximately 4 a.m. No time was given for when Dylan Mortensen and Bethany Funk went to sleep. However, at approximately 4 a.m., Dylan woke up to what she thought was Xana playing with, or it's actually Kaylee playing with their dog. That means that around the same time DoorDash is delivering, Dylan hears what she thinks is Kaylee Goncalves playing with their dog in the upstairs bedroom. Could that be the sound of the caller, or perhaps what she thinks is, could that be the caller, or perhaps Xana's keys? You know, maybe Xana had her keys with her when she went to the door to get her DoorDash, and then perhaps went into the kitchen because her DoorDash bag is in the kitchen. Can any of you think of any other way her DoorDash bag would have got into the kitchen other than her bringing it in there? Do you think one of the roommates goes, oh, well, let's make sure that her food stays fresh even after? That doesn't make any sense. So to me, it makes sense that Xana is the one that brought the DoorDash bag, if that is the DoorDash bag, from that day. And I'm getting sick of saying DoorDash, but at least I'm not saying Jordash anymore, except I will now because I just said that. So there's the sink and there's this bag right here. Is that from the same day? I don't know, but it very well could be. It says Xana on it. Looks like a new bag. It's sitting right there. Did she take the food out, put it on a plate? Maybe it was even the clinging of a plate with a fork or something that made it seem like it was the dog, because Dylan's room is below Madison's room, not Kaylee's room. So I don't know how she thinks she could have heard Kaylee playing with the dog upstairs. All right, then right here, at 4:04 a.m., the suspect vehicle, white Elantra, is seen driving east on Queen Road, and it erroneously states King Road, and turning around in the 500 Queen Road, number 52. It then heads west on Queen Road, they put King Road, and attempts to park or turn around. The Elantra then continues west to King Road and Queen Road, does a 3-point turn, and heads eastbound again down Queen Road. A short time later, Dylan heard someone say, "There's someone here." Law enforcement thinks this could be Xana Kernodle because cellular phone indicated she was likely awake and using the TikTok app at approximately 4:12. And yes, she just received a DoorDash meal at 4. This is when Dylan looked out her room for the first time and saw no one. She then opened the door the second time when she heard what she thought was crying coming from Kernodle's room. So when do you think, time-wise, that crying from Kernodle's room was? Because she looked out that time when she heard crying. And then she opened up a third time when she heard whimpering and a thud. So that's why I think there's a possibility that Xana and Ethan were attacked first. Let's say at 4:10, and maybe the TikTok app was still open. Maybe even it was just 4:12. And he stabbed them multiple times. And then he went upstairs at 4:13 or 14, killed Madison and Kaylee. Then he comes back downstairs and he hears whimpering. And he said, although, see, that's one of the things here. The first crying is when you hear, "It's okay, I'm going to help you." So that would almost seem like the second attack on them. It's just bizarre. Like he stabbed them, and then Ethan, then you hear this, "It's okay, I'm going to help you." Then a little bit later, there's whimpering and a loud thud. And that's the third time the door's open. Yeah, so there's two possibilities here. I mean, it's the same two possibilities that there always were. The killer came through the sliding glass door on the second floor, went upstairs, killed Madison and Kaylee pretty quickly. He didn't even enter the house, let's say, until, 4, I don't know, let's just say 4:10. And that's somehow when Xana or somebody said out loud, "Hey, there's somebody here." And then he goes up and kills them, first looking, maybe being quiet, a little slower, looking for Kaylee. She's not in her room. And then he finds him in Madison's room, and then there's sort of a brawl that happens, a fight by Kaylee, because Kaylee's in there. Or maybe this person went to Madison's room, Kaylee heard it, went out there, and then she tried to help Madison and had defensive wounds and was attacked differently because she was trying to defend her friend. And in that battle, the sheath fell on the ground. I mean, I don't know if he just had the knife in his pocket. He had it on his belt like normal people do. But something happened and it came off. So people say, oh, it has to be that he killed them first. That's why it's there. But we don't really know how it got there. The sheath coming off to me is irrelevant to sequencing. It doesn't mean anything. And then it says a security camera at 1112 King Road picked up distorted audio of what sounded like voices or a whimper, followed by a loud thud. A dog also can be heard barking numerous times starting at 4:17 a.m. And then I wrote, this possibly could be when Kaylee and Maddie were attacked, exciting Murphy, Kaylee's dog. See that? So that's what's interesting about that, except that would have been really quick attack. Like he would have had to go up there. It just doesn't make a lot of sense because you hear the dog barking. So maybe the dog barking upstairs just heard a lot of noise that it doesn't normally hear and barked. And it might have been a different dog too. We don't really know if that was their dog, but apparently, they think it's her dog. So that's weird. A security camera at 1112 picked up distorted audio of what sounded like voices or a whimper, followed by a loud thud. A dog can also be heard barking numerous times starting at 4:17. And so that was around 4:17 when they heard the distorted audio. So that couldn't really be... Okay, so how about this then? I don't know. Because then when would he have gone down? How did he get back in the living room at around 4:17 or 18 where Dylan could have seen her? You see how this gets kind of confusing? It's weird. Huh? Vehicle number 1? What are you talking about? Well, they might have had other Elantras that they had thought of. We don't know why they have 1 on there. Because they usually number them. And maybe there was no more, so that was it. They just left it like that. It doesn't really mean anything. It's kind of complicated on the time here. Because you have... Let me open up... the document again and just go through it the way they have it. I mean, that was the shortened form, but you guys see what I'm saying, right? It's 4 o'clock, there's a DoorDash, and Dylan thinks he hears Kaylee playing with her dog upstairs, although Kaylee's room's on the other side of the house from her. She's below Madison's room. So that's more likely a Xana sound that she attributed to Kaylee. What do you guys think of that? And then at 4:04, so that the DoorDash guy probably left at like 4:02, and then 4:04 to 4:05 is when the suspect vehicle likely parked, and we don't know when the killer entered the house. And then not long after that, Kaylee or Dylan hears somebody say, "Hey, there's somebody here." And then at 4:12, Xana's still using TikTok. But I just wonder if the TikTok was open and she never had time to close it. So it was open the whole time while she was being attacked. So she could have been attacked at 4:06 even. 4:07 after getting a plate of food. She's the one that says, "Hey, there's somebody here." Maybe she saw somebody kind of heading up the stairs or something. And that would mean that Madison and Kaylee were killed first. And then at 4:06 he comes down, kills them, but man, then he's spending a lot of time at that house because at 4:17 you hear all the sounds over at the 1112 King Road address. It's wild. It's just absolutely... It's hard to pinpoint anything. All I can tell you for certain is that I think this camera... Well, I can't even say certain, but I'm almost positive that this camera is how they know it turned around right in precisely where it turned around. Then it went back this way, stopped here for a moment, did a 3-point turn, came around and parked either here or, hell, he could have been in the front, but that'd be stupid. Back here would make sense because he exited through the back, so then he would run up here and then drive away. All right, so when he finally pulled away at like 420, it would be kind of like the backs out, really bad animation again, but drives around at 420, kind of really zipping around. I don't really have it zipping around, but he goes really fast by this house and then turns around and then exits up here, and then up there takes a left to get out of the neighborhood through that back way that we talked about yesterday, which is like here. So right here, we just showed that it turns, goes up, comes around, and then goes all the way out around like this and comes out on this highway and then heads back to where he lives. Hey, thanks, Nona617. But it doesn't, you know, it's hard to make this completely make sense. I know what they're saying. They wanted to make sure we knew about that bathroom, creating the buffer, so the audio you hear at 417 is going to be from Xana's room. And the whimpering and the thud, because you wouldn't be able to hear anything from Madison's room, given the fact that there's a wall and a bathroom buffer in between it. So let's just read through this really quick again. I'm going to skip that part. I just want to start right at the same time. All right, so Dylan and the friend, I don't remember her first name, but Funk, both made statements during interviews that indicated the occupants of the King Road residence were at home at 2 a.m. and asleep, or at least in their rooms by approximately 4 a.m. This is with the exception of Xana, who received a DoorDash order at the residence at approximately 4 a.m. Law enforcement identified the DoorDash delivery driver who reported this information. Dylan Mortensen stated she originally went to sleep in her bedroom on the southeast side of the second floor, just where we showed you. Dylan Mortensen stated she was awoken at approximately 4 a.m. by what she stated sounded like Goncalves playing with their dog in one of the upstairs bedrooms, which were located on the third floor. A short time later, Dylan Mortensen said she heard who she thought was Goncalves. So here's the thing. The sound that she heard of Maddie or Kaylee playing with their dog right around 4, that can't be the killer because he got there after that. So that sound that you hear there, unless her recollection of time isn't very accurate. She says around 4. Could that have been 4:06 and the killer was already up there? Sure. And we don't know. But man, there's a lot of motion going on with DoorDash, the killer, and just a lot of stuff going on there. And I didn't say Jordash. A short time later, Dylan Mortensen said she heard who she thought was Goncalves say something to the effect of, "There's someone here." A review of records obtained from a forensic download of Kernodle's phone showed this could also have been Kernodle, as her cellular phone indicated she was likely awake and using TikTok app at approximately 4:12 a.m. Now, if that's when she accessed the app, then that means she was totally fine at 4:12. Dylan Mortensen stated she looked out of her bedroom but did not see anything when she heard the comment about someone being in the house. Dylan Mortensen stated she opened her door a second time when she heard what she thought was crying coming from Kernodle's room. Dylan Mortensen then said she heard a male voice say something to the effect of, "It's okay, I'm going to help you." And that sounds like that would be what the killer would say. At approximately 4:17 a.m., a security camera located at 1112 King Road residence immediately to the northwest of 1122 King Road, and again on the map here, it's just like this. This is the 1122 where the people were killed, and this is where the camera was, right there, on that side of the house. and it picked up distorted audio of what sounded like voices or a whimper, followed by a loud thud. A dog can also be heard barking numerous times, starting at 4:17 a.m. The security camera is less than 50 feet from the west wall of Kernodle's bedroom. It's more like 57. But Dylan Mortensen stated she opened her door for the third time after she heard the crying and saw a figure clad in black. So it's interesting how she opened her door with whimpering, and then there must have been some time that passed, and then she heard crying again and saw a black figure. So she heard the crying and then kind of went, oh God. And then, so right before that, the crying must have stopped, and that's when the thud happened. And then she opens her door, even, after hearing the thud and crying, and she was just frozen right there. She was clad in black clothing and a mask and covered the person's mouth and nose, walking towards her. Dylan Morton described the figure as 5'10" or taller, not very muscular, but athletically built with bushy eyebrows. The male walked past Dylan Mortensen as he stood in a frozen shock. She stood in a frozen shock phase. The male walked towards the back sliding glass door. She locked herself in a room after seeing the male. Dylan Mortensen did not state that she recognized the male. This leads investigators to believe that the murderer left the scene. Right. So, man, the timeline is so tight. It's really more like 4:05 to 4:19 is when the murders happen. And you hear at 4:17 scream, or like not screams, but crying and a loud thud. Is that him finishing off Xana and Ethan, or is that when he attacked them the first time? I don't know. I don't have a strong grasp on it. What do you guys think? It just seems it doesn't give you enough specific information to really know. It does make it sound like the last noises you hear and the noises you hear on that camera at 4:17 are Xana and Ethan, and apparently there wasn't noise before that, or they would have mentioned that, right? So that means that at 4:17 we hear whimpering and crying, but that's probably after an attack, but it seems like it would be shortly after the attack, so maybe 4:16 or so. So, it does make you think that Madison and Kaylee could have been attacked first upstairs, just more silently, because their room isn't above. Well, let's see. Kaylee's room is not directly above. So here's the thing. And Madison's room. So here's the thing. Madison's room is, we're going to go upstairs here. This room right here is Kaylee's room. It's not directly above Xana's room. It's offset a little bit because it's right above the kitchen. Madison's room right here is directly above Dylan's room. And remember talking about this about a week ago when I was talking about maybe Dylan was in that room? And from her room, it must have been a freaking nightmare. And Dylan's room is directly below Kaylee and Madison's room. I think it's interesting how it doesn't sound like she heard much from right above her head. She's in this quiet house listening, and everything she hears is coming from Xana and Ethan's area. So doesn't it seem like these two killings were quiet? Like they were done really quietly? Because the only thing she heard was, oh, maybe playing with a dog at 4. And that's not even the right time frame. But what does around 4 mean? Does that mean 4:03? 4:04? Was the killer there at that time? Yeah. Yes, this is downstairs. So, I mean, the downstairs is irrelevant to the case at this point, unless he came in that way, but we don't have any indication. All right, so if you're new here again, this is what it looks like when you enter the very lowest level. This is the room that people thought Dylan lived in, but it was really just for storage. This is the other roommate. She lives in this room, the one last name of Funk. Then you go up these stairs, and her room is directly below the living room, so she may have heard some things too. This is Xana's room. And there's Ethan, and Xana's just off to the left on the ground there. You can never see her in any of the shots. They're barely right there, you can see. And then this is the living room. Right here is Dylan's room. Her room was in a really ridiculous spot for fear. I mean, you would absolutely be freaking out if you lived in this room right here. Because just above her head is Madison's room. This is the living room right here. And right now we're in, just that close is Xana's room. So look how close that is. So of course you could hear those things. And then this is also the kitchen to the right there where the person would have left. It would have been where, it's just absolute nightmare for her. Then you go up the stairs and to the left at the top of the stairs. So again, what you're looking at here, I can go out here, is right. This is, we're about ready to get into, you can actually see the character walking around in the scene there. That's kind of spooky. Let's see what that looks like if I hit play. Oh, weird. Yeah. Haven't even looked at that yet. So he's walking around, and then he exits the room. And now he's going to be going over to Madison's room, right there. And then this is where he killed them because they were both in this room. But what was the genesis of that? Did they both, after texting Jack, the ex-boyfriend, were they just both sitting on the same bed here texting, and they just fell asleep together? That seems kind of likely, right? But before that, had shut her dog in a room so her dog wasn't running around the house doing things. So then you come down the stairs, and now earlier, when you could pretend that Dylan saw the guy walking like this is how he would have gone. So first, after going into, I'm just showing you what Dylan's room looks like. So right here, she's viewing this guy walking like this. And then after she sees him, the guy walks just like this. This is how he exits the home. But she doesn't see him because it's kind of dark, and he's just killed 4 people, and he's focused, and he's getting the hell out of there. So how are we doing right now with the timeline thing? I'll put this back up on the screen. This is just the text. 4 a.m. Dylan hears playing with the dog. 4 a.m. Kernodle receives a DoorDash. Could those be the same thing? 4:05, the suspect vehicle parks. I'm just guessing. At 4:06, Dylan hears Xana say, "Someone's here." Dylan looks out of the room and sees nobody. Dylan. Then at 4:12, Xana is on TikTok. Dylan hears crying from Xana's room, likely after attack, and opens door to look. I'm just saying 4:15 because it's got to be after TikTok, you would think, because you're not on TikTok while you're being stabbed and crying, unless TikTok, she was on it and it got left open after she was stabbed and she never shut it down. Then at 4:17, there was a whimper and loud thud, likely Xana and Ethan being attacked, as the bathroom wall and location of Madison's room would exclude it from being heard on the 1112 security camera. At 4:18, Dylan, after hearing the crying, and this is my made-up time, the 4:18, so after hearing the crying and likely the thud, opened her door and stood in frozen shock as the figure, clad in black clothing and a mask that covered the person's mouth and nose, walking towards her. Dylan described the figure as 5'10" or taller male, not very muscular, but athletically built with bushy eyebrows. The killer exited out the sliding glass door in the kitchen. Then at 4:20, the suspect vehicle departed the area of 1122 King Road residence at a high rate of speed at 4:20. These spelling errors here from when you cut and paste from a PDF file that was optical recognition. All right, so it says suspect vehicle departed area of the 1122 King Road residence at a high rate of speed at 420, likely seen on the 1112 King Road surveillance camera. So there you go, everybody. That is what I wanted to show you. Hopefully it made it sort of useful to see it the way I showed it. Keep in mind, you do see the image of the DoorDash bag in the kitchen by the sink. So that, what's interesting is that puts her in the kitchen around the time his car is already parked-ish, right around that time, I mean, it's just really bizarre stuff here. And is she the one that said, hey, somebody's here? Because maybe she got her DoorDash, went through her room for a couple minutes. Then just as she's heading to the kitchen, she sees some, bottom of somebody's feet heading up the stairs, and then goes to the kitchen to put the food on the plate or whatever. Then goes back to her room, and then is on, but that's when the killer's upstairs killing Madison and Kaylee quietly. And then he comes back downstairs, and it makes it seem now, unless it was an absolutely random interruption of some sort, that he went there intentionally to kill people. But there might have been too much noise with the dog barking and the crying and whimpering and stuff, so he took off before ever trying to kill the other two people. Yeah, well, that's not really what it says. What it says is it exits the whole area down here. This is the 525 right in this spot. I'm just saying 420 is when he leaves the house. 425, he leaves the area. The affidavit says 420, not 425. It says it leaves the area of 1122 King Road at 420. And then he gets down here at 425. And by the way, I found that portion that was confusing, but I couldn't remember where it was. This is what it was the other day. It said, suspect vehicle 1 is next seen departing the area of King Road residence at approximately 420. And can I get a boom? Because I just told you it said that. At a high rate of speed. The suspect vehicle 1 is next observed traveling southbound on Walenta Drive. Based on my knowledge of the area and review of camera footage in the neighborhood, that does not show suspect vehicle 1. I was like, what does that mean? I didn't know what that means, but I figured it out. What they're saying is his knowledge of the area and the fact that none of the cameras that he's aware of, they don't show the vehicle during that time frame. He believes that the suspect vehicle likely exited the neighborhood at Palusa River Drive and Conestoga Drive. Palusa River Drive is at a southern edge of Moscow and proceeds into Whitman County, Washington. So it was pretty perceptive by one of the officers to then say, this person might be from Pullman. And that's where he was from. All right, you guys. Well, that is going to do it for this. I hope you guys got something out of it. I think it does show you where you can theorize. You're kind of stuck with a few different elements there that you hear whimpering at 417, dog barking at 417. You hear Dylan's crying, but we don't really know what time that is. We know that she's on TikTok at 412. 4 o'clock, she gets a DoorDash delivery. Just after that sometime is when Dylan hears somebody say, someone is here. So it's, I think law enforcement thinks that Kaylee and Madison were asleep when the killer attacked them. And they were sleeping on the same bed. That's what I think they think. And the people that were awake, obviously, were Ethan and Xana. They just bought some food at DoorDash. It's crazy. So, anyways, I appreciate all of you guys for showing up. I hope I didn't make it more jumbled, but I think the number of times I went over it should have made it pretty easy. So we're probably going to have on Dr. Colleen Fitzpatrick and Misty Gillis later. We can talk about some of the cases that we've funded, plus they're going to give us their thoughts on this case. And I sent Colleen the affidavit and everything. So there you go. I really appreciate it, and thank you very much to Hell in a Bucket Babe, Tupac Shakur, Cindy Leon, Foggy Morn, Eliza Jane, Muscle March Fitness, Traveling Teresa, Mag, Muscle March Fitness again, thank you. Jamie, Simple Life Days, Colleen Daly Page, known as 617, Joe Familetti, and Jamie, and Maybelle Quintanilla. So thank you guys very much. I will see you guys later. And, as I always say, everybody, until next time, be safe out there. And when you hear other people say it, they're copying my show. Great, people say that all the time. I know they do. Just kidding. All right, see you later. Yeah, I've been doing this true crime thing for quite a while now. And during this whole time, I have not seen one person that is a crime dissector, plug rejector. I'm a certified human lie detector. Gonna get ya on a stretcher if you try and play me like an old projector. Crime sector is my nectar. Professor Grego's gonna give another lecture. Crime collector, freak connector, and I'm always gonna be a pup protector. Fool deflector, interceptor, and I'm meaner than a spectre with a vector on his pector. With all respect, y'all, just remember I've a temple fucking checked ya. I have no agenda, I'm no pretender, and I'll serve it to you straight without the blender. And in the end, I'm gonna send ya on a mission to reveal the true offender.
See you tonight, everybody. 6 o'clock. Pacific Coast time.
Hey, thanks, Mary Lou. I forgot to say that. See you guys later.